Thanks, Martha. Barack Obama is about change, the Reverend Jesse Jackson says. Starting with the Middle East, we're quoting Jackson now, decades of putting Israel's interests first will end. In an interview in France with Amir Tahiri of the New York Post, Jackson said, Zionists have controlled American policy for decades and will lose their clout when Barack Obama enters the White House. I'd like to remind you of my comments last week on Obama's close relationship with Rashid Khalidi. Khalidi and his wife were personal friends of the Obamas in Chicago, as well as somebody who donated money to Obama and someone to whom Obama steered grant money in his position at the Woods Fund. According to the LA Times, Khalidi once acted as a spokesman for the PLO and a negotiator for Palestinians in peace talks, and Obama once said Khalidi opened his eyes to a different point of view. Obama's history with one-time PLO spokesman Rashid Khalidi makes me wonder if Jesse Jackson's error was simply that he spoke out at the wrong time.
In your eyes, you're in Jerusalem, you know the back and forth with Hamas there and all of the discussions about Hamas as a terrorist organization.
Here we have the chief political advisor of the Hamas terrorist organization saying that Barack Obama, comparing him to John F. Kennedy and saying that he hopes Barack Obama becomes president. I think it's important to understand how the enemies of the United States of America and how the enemies of the West view our presidential campaign, and Hamas has stated on the record that they support Barack Obama. And of course this just comes after the media, including Fox News, reported that Robert Malley, a Obama advisor, has resigned over contacts he had with the Hamas terrorist organization. I'm sure you've also heard that Obama's church newsletter has published an opinion piece by Hamas in which, among other things, they compare the Hamas charter, which calls for the murder of Jews, to the Declaration of Independence. So I think this is a very legitimate campaign issue, and it stems far beyond just one Hamas official's endorsement of Barack Obama.
Bottom line, you think this is a campaign issue that we'll hear more about?
Absolutely.
Okay, Aaron Klein, thanks so much from Jerusalem.
Let's say you were an advisor to the President of the United States. How would, in response to current events, would you advise him to put a structure in place to monitor that situation?
I actually think in the Palestine-Israeli situation, there's an abundance of information, and what we don't need is some kind of early warning, and putting something online might mean alienating a domestic constituency of tremendous political and financial import. It may more crucially mean sacrificing or investing, I think more than sacrificing, literally billions of dollars not in servicing Israelis military, but actually in investing in the new state of Palestine, in investing billions of dollars it would probably take also to support, I think, what will have to be a mammoth protection force, meaningful military presence, because it seems to me at this stage you have to go in as if you're serious, you have to put something on the line, and unfortunately imposition of a solution on unwilling parties is dreadful. I mean, it's a terrible thing to do. It's fundamentally undemocratic. Unfortunately, it does require external intervention. Any intervention is going to come under fierce criticism, but we have to think about lesser evils.
Obama's stance on Israel caused major problems for him among some Jewish voters, and their concern with the presidential hopeful doesn't come as a surprise, considering his relationship with a man who has ties to the former terrorist organization, the Palestinian Liberation Organization.
Senator Barack Obama, with his occasional American flag pin on his lapel, spoke in front of Jewish voters at a synagogue in Florida. He wanted to reassure them of his personal commitment to Israel, but his loyalty was quickly called into question.
You also characterized that you and your wife's personal relationship with Rashid Khalidi, an avowed anti-Israel scholar at Columbia.
You mentioned Rashid Khalidi, who's a professor at Columbia. I do know him because he taught at the University of Chicago. And he is Palestinian. And I do know him, and I have had conversations. He is not one of my advisors. He's not one of my foreign policy people. His kids went to the lab school, where my kids go as well. He is a respected scholar, although he vehemently disagrees with a lot of Israel policy.
As another radical relationship comes to light, Senator Obama is minimizing his association with Rashid Khalidi, an allegedly former member of a terror organization.
Rashid Khalidi today is a professor at Columbia, earlier was professor at the University of Chicago, but before that he was an employee of the Palestinian Liberation Organization. And he was an employee of the PLO back when it was a designated terrorist organization. In 1982, the New York Times referred to him in an article on June 9th of that year as director of the Palestinian News Press Agency. And other references subsequent suggest that he was an employee of the PLO at a time when the PLO was, as I say, a designated terrorist organization by the U.S. government.
Today, Rashid Khalidi is the head of the Middle East program at Columbia University. Not surprisingly, he helped coordinate Mahmoud Ahmadinejad's speech at the school, who said Israel should be wiped off the map. The Palestinian activist is an outspoken critic of the United States who mourns the establishment of Israel as a, quote, catastrophe.
He has justified terrorism by Palestinians against Israeli soldiers in the West Bank on the grounds that what he called resistance to occupation is legitimate in international law, unquote. In other words, terrorism okay if it's against soldiers.
Daniel Pipe says a financial web connects Senator Obama to the former PLO agent.
It's also clear from the record that they had a financial connection and that Obama sat on the board of a foundation, the Wood Fund, that gave money in 2 successive years, 2001, 2002, to an organization, the Arab American Action Network, that Rashid Khalidi co-founded and his wife directed. And the other direction, Khalidi held a fundraiser, a political fundraiser for Barack Obama in 2000. So they were helping each other financially.
The foundation that Pipes referred to is the Chicago-based Woods Fund that both Obama and the unrepentant terrorist William Ayers co-chaired. Incidentally, Khalidi thanks Ayers in his book, Resurrecting Empire, saying that Bill was particularly generous in letting me use his family's dining room table to do some of the writing for the project. Ayers and Obama reportedly approved $70,000 to Khalidi's Arab organization.
I think the financial relationship between Khalidi and Obama is important because it points to their relationship not just being social, intellectual, but having a deeper base, that they are people who are working together towards the same end.
In 2003, Barack Obama held a lavish farewell dinner for Khalidi before he left for Columbia University. The Los Angeles Times reported on the event in April of this year. The headline, Allies of Palestinians See a Friend in Obama. Here's what the paper said, quote, a special tribute came from Khalidi's friend and frequent dinner companion, the young state senator Barack Obama. Speaking to the crowd, Obama reminisced about meals prepared by Khalidi's wife, Mona, and conversations that had challenged his thinking. That night, Obama said his conversations with the Khalidis served as, quote, consistent reminders to me of my own blind spots and my own biases. It is for that reason that I'm hoping that for many years to come, we continue that conversation, a conversation that is necessary, not just around Mona and Rashid's dinner table, but around the entire world, unquote. The Nation magazine published an opinion piece by Khalidi titled Palestine, Liberation Deferred. The piece opens with Khalidi characterizing the Palestinian question as a, quote, running sore. 5 days after, in the Atlantic magazine, Senator Obama responded in a similar manner, saying, quote, this constant sore does infect all of our foreign policy. Coincidence? Or is Khalidi influencing Obama's Middle East talking points?